If we're wanting to win back women, win back our families, win back our country, we've got to stop giving our sex away. We're slaves to it. And it's not just with women, it's also with pornography. Stop watching porn. According to Libido Dominandi, E. Michael Jones states that when the Israelis wanted to take over Palestine, one of the very first things that they did when they came in was they littered the entire cities with pornographic material. Literally, just papers, magazines, pornography. So they scattered pornography over the cities. Then, the next thing they did is they went in and they took over three of the 4 television stations and broadcast pornography 24 hours a day. So these people were on lockdown, right? And this was back in the, 1980s? They were on lockdown. We know what that means now, all of us. And they were forced to stay home and stare at a screen that they would be hopefully getting news from, but instead porn. Think about 2020 lockdowns and Pornhub. There's a reason why. Because you make the men very weak, you make them very passive, you corrupt the women, you destroy the culture. They don't need to use bombs and bullets. They use sexual license and pornography in order to enslave us as men and as fathers. Part of the problem is that sex seems so fun. We get a sense of pride from it. We think that we're doing something and that we're big men because we can have sex or have this false sense of pride when we're rubbing off to some porn. But make no mistake that every time we do that, every time we give our power away, the enemy is winning and he's smiling and he loves it. I'm not up here trying to make your life miserable, but things aren't working out really well, and it has a lot to do with what we're choosing to do with our dicks. Stop being effeminate. The word effeminate essentially means an aversion to doing what's hard, stop fucking, and an aversion to doing what's hard, an attachment to that which is pleasurable. Think about all of the activities, think about all the vices, think about all the things in our lives that make us effeminate. Addiction to media, addiction to games, addiction to women, addiction to food, addiction to drugs, addiction to alcohol. These are all weapons. They're all tools used to what? Subvert your power and make you a slave. We've got to take a good look at ourselves, guys. The problem in the West, which was very different than the Bolshevik Revolution and the revolution in the East, because it's one revolution that rose there and has made its way west, is that back then, in that place, they had to do it with force. They had to take over and corrupt the people by force, political force, bombs and bullets. Today, we willingly lay back and allow them to step over us. Why? Because comfort. Well, I don't want to give up my iPhone. Well, I don't want to give up Amazon. I don't want to give up Google and Gmail and YouTube. I don't want to give up all the creature comforts that keep us, what? Trapped, slaves to our effeminacy. It's our fault. We got to start saying no. I know it sounds hard because it's like, what is Elliot saying? Is he telling us that we should have miserable, sexless lives? No. I'm saying we could have that much more if we had self-control. Those are base things. Those are easy things. Those are things that keep us heavy, that keep us ball and chained. They feel good though, and that's why it's so insidious, and that's why Satan uses it as his tools. And then finally, we got to look, the first 3 are about what not to do. We got to take back our power. I've said enough about that. We got to turn our sexual energy into generativity. But we got to take responsibility for the mess that we're in. We are in a war, men, and we're not woke up enough to realize it. We are in a war right now, and we haven't picked up our swords. We're in a war right now, and we haven't even mounted a defense. Make no mistake about it. I said spiritual war, which can kind of sound a little out there. But the non-conventional warfare that we're experiencing on our soil by a biological attack from a communist enemy is proof that you can't see it. Where's COVID? I don't see it. You're not going to see the war. It's not going to be written on the wall. The media ain't going to tell you about it. We're right smack in the middle of it. Now, I said 100 years, right? God, at the end of the age, will promise Satan 100 years to what? Create that separation between the wheat and the chaff. This is our time. This is our calling. We're here for a reason because we get to choose. Are we a part of the kingdom of Satan or the kingdom of God? Our fathers. We're talking about the state of the American father, but if you can't even look at and confront your relationship with God the Father, there's no hope. The West was built and won on Christendom, not communism. So we got to take responsibility. And that might mean that we got to make some really tough decisions. That might mean we have to get very uncomfortable. That might mean we have to set ourselves apart and turn away from the world and do things a bit differently. Luckily, we have tradition. Luckily, we have the patriarchs of the past. Luckily, we have a blueprint and a pattern in the Father to show us exactly what kind of a world we can build. I even think in terms of that word father when we talk about the founders of our nation, our culture, our country. Fathers, once again, the founding fathers who put forth a document that Satan has all but took a shit on right now.